Well, hey everybody, and welcome to the EcoCast by Actual Tech Media. Our topic today is Power Up Your Databases, surveying the tools that take data, analytics, integration, AI, machine learning, and intelligence to the next level. My name is Jess Steinbach, and I am so happy to be here with you today for this exciting conversation because there are three keywords in that title that I have to say always light up my brain. One is data, AI, and ML. I mean, come on, that is just a big, sparkly ice cream sundae of fascinating topics. Data is powering up new growth, personalization, organizational scalability every day. And artificial intelligence and machine learning are revolutionizing not just what is possible, but how we even get to those possibilities. And when you swirl all three of those together, well, I don't have to tell you all, but the possibilities are endless. I mean, literally endless. But that's also a lot. That's big. And the conversation is constantly expanding to keep pace with the technology. So it can feel a bit hard to keep up. Luckily, on this EcoCast, we're going to be joined by some top innovators from DataStax, Informatica, Anaconda, and Qlik. These awesome experts are here to talk to us about all the current trends, tools, and technologies that you need to know as you consider the growth, the evolution, and the maintenance of your organization's databases. Now, if you haven't joined us for an EcoCast in the past, a very special welcome to all the first-timers out there. I saw a lot of returning names and faces as well. Actual Tech Media created the MegaCast and EcoCast series to help educate technology professionals like yourself on the latest innovations and trends in enterprise technology. So these webinars are designed to get you the hottest insight and up-to-date information to help you solve your most pressing technology challenges. Okay, now before we get into our exciting sessions, there's a few things that you should know about the EcoCast today. Of course, for those of you whose eyes went right to that little prize icon, I get it, but hang tight. We're going to come back to that in just a moment. First, I want to draw your attention to the questions window in your webinar control panel. So if you haven't already said hi, we love seeing all you awesome folks connecting from around the world. So give a virtual wave to your friends out there in the Actual Tech Media community. Now, the questions console is also the place to let us know if there are any tech issues that come up today. I do want to remind you all out there that a browser refresh is going to clear out any of the usual tech gremlins, but if they're being particularly persistent, shoot us a message over live chat and the Actual Tech Media team will be there to help. But most importantly, we want this to be an informative webinar for you, which means we want to see your technical questions. So throughout today's EcoCast, we hope you will get engaged, get fired up, and ask all the questions that you may have about data and how to power up your analytics and integration tools. I do want to remind you all that if we do not get to your question during the live webinar today, don't worry. The awesome humans from DataStax, Informatica, Anaconda, and Qlik will be following up with you afterwards. Okay, now, follow along with me in your audience console. Take a look at that Twitter button right there in your audience console. When you do have that kind of bright, sparkly, brain-tickling moment during our EcoCast today, and I know that there will be a few, just click on that button to share it with all your friends. The hashtag for today's EcoCast is going to be automatically added. And while you're clicking around on that audience console, right next to that questions tab, there's a handouts tab. And I really want to make sure I call your attention to that today because there are some fantastic resources and takeaways from our speakers. So go ahead and click into that handouts tab. You're going to find some data sheets, white papers, ebooks, and more. Start exploring. Make sure to open those tabs, save those PDFs, download whatever you need for after we wrap today. Now, as I mentioned at the top of our session here, my name is Jess Steinbach, and I am absolutely thrilled to be a moderator here with Actual Tech Media and to be with you all today. I'm going to be joined in just a moment by two of my friends and fellow moderators. That's Scott Becker and David Davis. So we'll chat with them in just a second here. But before we get into that keynote, I promised you all that I would come back to prizes, and I meant it. So let's talk prizes. So today we will be giving away 3 $500 Amazon gift cards. Now you do need to be in attendance during the live webinar to qualify for the prizes. All winners must meet the Actual Tech Media prize terms and conditions. And if you are not sure what those prize terms and conditions are, head on back to that handouts tab that I mentioned to you just a moment ago. Click on into the handouts tab, scroll down to the bottom, and you'll find the full thing there. Now, I also mentioned earlier that we love seeing all of your technical questions, and we love it so much that we've actually added an additional prize. So in today's EcoCast, we will be giving away a $50 Amazon gift card to the best question asked in each of our live sessions, each session. Now, the teams are reviewing all of the questions asked after the webinar, which means that even if your question does not get read out in a live session, there is still a chance to win. Now, I mentioned that the full T's and C's are in the handout section. I'm going to put a few reminders up for you here, including that all prize winners must submit an IRS Form W-9 to Actual Tech Media. Now, if you are a winner on the webinar today and you would like to donate the value of your prize to one of our selected charities, you absolutely have that option. And thanks to generous prize winners on the previous Actual Tech Media webinars, thousands of dollars have been donated to these charities. So if you're a winner and you would like to get involved with one of these amazing organizations, let us know, and we would absolutely love to help make that happen. Now, obviously, we're very happy that you're all here with us live today, and we want to keep that connection going. So please do reach out to us to Actual Tech Media on Twitter and Facebook. We definitely want to hear from you. If you're looking for more content after the webinar wraps today, do make sure that you head on over to YouTube and subscribe to the Actual Tech Media channel. We've got lots of exciting webinars on demand, so get on over there, subscribe, and start exploring. But don't leave us just yet, because we've got lots of great content ahead. Please do make sure to follow us on LinkedIn as well, even more exciting information there. And on top of all of it, if you haven't already checked out the Actual Tech Media Gorilla Guide Book Club, head over there today. The Gorilla Guide Book Club gives you access to free enterprise IT books authored by top industry experts, so you can stay up to date on trending enterprise technology. And yes, these books are going to work on your Kindle or your mobile device, and they are totally free. So download these awesome resources at gorilla.guide. There's a link in the handouts tab for you as well, that handy dandy handouts tab. Okay, and the last thing I'm going to mention here today, as I said, we think that you're all pretty awesome. We're guessing you have some awesome friends, and we want to get to know them. We want to keep expanding this community. So another fun way to win a prize is to refer an industry friend or coworker to the Actual Tech Media webinar series. Now, you're going to find a link right there in that handouts tab again. Keeps coming up, common theme here today. And you will get automatically redirected at the end of the webinar as well. Now, I do want to assure you all out there that we promise not to spam your friends or coworkers. We're going to send them an invitation to a list of upcoming webinars. If they don't respond, they're only going to get one more little reminder from us, and that's it. Then both you and your coworker could win a $300 Amazon gift card. We hold those drawings every month, so be sure to refer a friend, because it could quite literally be a win-win situation. Okay, and that's it. That's it for webinar housekeeping. So let's get into our sessions, because as you can see up on your screen here, our keynote has all three moderators here to talk to you about one of our favorite conversations to get into around the virtual water cooler, and that is pop culture inspired technology. Because whatever your favorite genre, there is some movie, TV show, music video, or graphic novel that you've seen that predicted or inspired a piece of technology in our modern world. But let me get my crew on screen with me here, and we can chat a little bit more about it. Hang tight.
Well, hey, Scott. Hey, David. Thanks so much for coming to join me at the EcoCast today. This is an extremely special keynote chat because this is our very first one with all three of us here at once.
This is awesome, Jess. Great. That's right.
I love that. Well, okay, so the other day, and I was telling you guys this, I was on the phone with my dad, and about halfway through the conversation, he told me that he was talking to me on his new Apple Watch, and he told me that he felt a bit like Dick Tracy. Now, I haven't read Dick Tracy, the comic, in years, and I'd completely forgotten about his radio watch. So I had to go back and do some Googling to check it out. Sure enough, as far back as January 13th, 1946, you can see that famous crime fighter sporting his iconic and ahead of its time two-way communication gadget. So, of course, I had to look into this a little bit further. And it seems that the creator of Dick Tracer, Chester Gould, was actually in touch with Al Gross, who many of you might know was the inventor of the walkie-talkie, the CB radio, and the telephone pager. So it turns out that Gould knew Gross and eventually asked him if he could use the two-way radio to help Dick Tracy escape from a seemingly unwinnable situation. Gross agreed, and sure enough, this newfangled watch saved our hero and became a staple in the graphic story. So this fun little rabbit hole got David, Scott, and I thinking about other pop culture technologies that might actually exist now, like the smartwatch. We also know Star Trek, Ready Player One, The Matrix, Star Wars, all of these places, these pop culture influences in technology. I even heard the other day that Mary Shelley's novel Frankenstein back in 1818 was the first recorded reference to a defibrillator, which is a hard word to say, defibrillator. I mean, that's just cool, 1818. So David, Scott, and I were chatting about these examples, and we thought that it might be fun to kind of dig into some of the tools that we've seen referenced in pop culture. And today our entire EcoCast is about AI and machine learning and how to take that up a notch. So we're going to dig into some examples where maybe we're seeing that in movies and TV shows. And hey, if any of you have any examples out there that are your favorites, feel free to post them in the questions channel. We want to hear from you. But now I'm going to hand things over to Scott. Why don't you tell us about your favorite pop culture technology reference?
Okay, great. Well, this definitely qualifies as taking things up a notch, but it is not a good notch. I'm talking, of course, about everyone's go-to AI dystopia. This is Skynet from the Terminator. This is the military AI that tries to wipe out humanity over the course of, 30 years of movies. Thankfully, this does not exist, but military systems like drones and especially nuclear launch codes, so far as we know, are being kept squarely under human thumbs. And arguably that's for the best, although there's also a case to be made that, as people get smarter and as machines get smarter, they become less likely to initiate a nuclear war. That was a conclusion of the War Games movie. Oh, sorry if I've just spoiled a 1983 movie for you. But this whole topic is having a cultural moment right now. There were major opinion pieces in the New York Times and the Washington Post in the last week about AI. One was hopeful about how far AI has come, especially the DALL-E tool for creating hyper-realistic images from text descriptions. The other piece ran in the Washington Post, and it was pretty dark, with a focus on how AI can probably still wipe us all out, presumably through some mistake or unintended consequence of a complex algorithm. Let's switch gears to get to another aspect of AI. So I think this is more realistic right now, at least thematically. This is the 2013 movie Her, where a man falls in love with AI software. In the movie, the AI is more advanced than what we have, but we're all in an emotionally confused time right now, I think. The tech we have, like in Alexa and Siri, is essentially, search engines tuned mostly for shopping with a voice sort of bolted on. But the effect is sometimes emotionally indistinguishable from, dealing with a real person. And I'm not going to lie, I get far more frustrated and angry at Alexa for misunderstanding me than I do with any real person, like, ever in my life. I also don't yell at my browser when Google or DuckDuckGo don't give me the query result that I'm looking for, but something about that voice emotionally adds that extra expectation that it should be understanding you, and things can sort of escalate quickly. So I'm giving this one a mixed response. It exists. The tech is not nearly there, but some of the emotional component definitely is. So David, I think you have a few.
Yeah, absolutely. Great references there. I mean, the Dick Tracy watch wouldn't be, or the Apple Watch really wouldn't be useful today without AI, without Siri, because there's not a lot you can do without talking to it. That AI assistant is what makes it so useful. And then moving on here, I mean, you talked about AI there in the movie Her. Another AI robot, one of my favorites of all time from Star Trek, of course, Commander Data. And, he's a full autonomous being, maybe even with his own emotions. That was, gone into a lot in the series, whether or not he had emotions and he could feel and everything. He had his pet cat. Can anyone remember the name of his pet cat? I can't right now. But anyway, so do we have the equivalent of Commander Data today? Definitely not with Alexa. And when it comes to, autonomous robots, I would say no. We really don't have that today. Not really. What we do have are kind of these robots. If you want to bring it, her name's Sophia. There's a few others out there you'll find out on the internet who look semi-realistic and can talk and respond to you, but they're really not autonomous and they really can't think for themselves. And maybe if you've seen some of the movies like, what is it, Machina or something like that. I'm trying to think of the one where the robots go crazy.
Ex Machina, I think.
Yes, there you go.
Matrix also. So many examples of robot.
You don't want that.
Yeah.
You don't want that. No. And of course, there were episodes of Star Trek where Commander Data, got infiltrated by the Borg or ransomware or whatever he had, and he went a little crazy too. So I don't think we quite have that. Moving on to another one. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. 1990 is Total Recall. He had self-driving cars in there that weren't all that helpful in many cases. But do we have that today? Well, yeah, we do have self-driving cars, and they're getting better and better all the time. I mean, some of the other technology from Total Recall was the ability to recreate your dreams and go back into your dreams, and we don't have anything like that today. But we are getting closer, I think, to the colonization of Mars, which was, of course, an important part, of that movie. So I know those aren't all AI references, but we are seeing, I think, more and more movies, come to life. I'm still waiting though for my hovering skateboard from Back to the Future. They haven't.
Yes, David will be first in line for the hover skateboards.
It's still on the Christmas list.
Well, guys, I have to say this has been absolutely full of nerdy fun, the absolute best kind of fun, really. And thanks to everyone in the audience who posted their own favorite examples in the chat. Feel free to keep those coming. We love seeing that, or if you know Data's cat. And I kind of wish, honestly, we could just keep playing this game, but I think it's time to jump into our sessions. I know we've got some very cinema-worthy technologies and ideas coming your way. So David and Scott, thanks again for joining me. This has been a blast.
Thanks, Jess.
Oh man, I love that. I was just, as I step off camera here, scrolling through some of the answers you were all posting, and I see Spot. Spot was the Data's cat. So David, Spot is Data's cat name. Thank you to everyone in the audience for filling us in on that. And for everyone who answered and participated, I saw some great suggestions. I like the Jetsons, Crystal. That's a good one. All right, I have put a poll up on the screen for you here as well. If somebody asked you to describe your role in your organization at a high level, not necessarily a specific job title, would you answer that you work in tech or that you work in IT? This is just a fun way for us to kind of get to know you. It helps us tailor some of the content. And also we're just curious. We're curious about all of you. So let us know. Would you answer that you work in tech or in IT? If it's an other, please feel free to go ahead and fill that out. Sorry, I was just realizing. Thank you, Peter. Peter says he doesn't think I'm old enough to have read Dick Tracy comics. Hey, they were around. So if you can, go ahead and throw in a different job title in the comment section. We would love to see that. And we definitely want to hear from you on this one. I'm going to flip over to our next poll, so get your answers in real fast there. Click, click, click. And next poll. Okay, our next poll is we want to know what is the time frame that you're thinking about for adding new or updating existing IT solutions at your company. So obviously today we're talking about databases, and kind of revolutionizing those and modernizing those tools. So what is your time frame for making a change here? And again, this is going to help us kind of know, are you guys planning way out in the future? Are you looking to make fast changes? And just kind of gives our speakers an idea of where you're at in the journey. So I see some great answers coming into that. Let's get those in. I'm speeding us along this morning because I know that we've got a lot of great content to get to. Okay, thank you to everyone who answered, but now we're going to move forward in our EcoCast because we need to get started. We have some amazing presenters lined up. It is my pleasure to introduce you to our very first presenter, kicking us off in style today. We have Greg Stocknick, Senior Product Manager at DataStax. Greg, thank you for being here to start this EcoCast out today. I know you've got a lot of great content to cover, so I'm going to step away and hand the mic on over to you.
Great, thank you so much. Hello, EcoCast. Hey, everybody. So my name is Greg Stocknick. I'm a product manager for DataStax, and the session that we're going to be talking about today is focused on databases, and we're going to look at why and how it's helpful for databases that we develop to integrate into third-party ecosystems and how they can make developers' lives that much more delightful. So just a little bit about me. So my name is Greg Stocknick. I am a product manager at DataStax. I focus on developer experience. So this is basically the tools, the SDKs, the APIs, the different types of ways that developers are building the touch points that they use to build applications against the DataStax database. And so I've been in product management for over 15 years and always pretty much worked in developer productivity space. So developing IDEs, developing frameworks, developing tools for application lifecycle management, as well as cloud services. So let's kind of level set and kind of get into the agenda. So we'll start off by just thinking about some different types of personas that are doing development with databases. And we'll define specifically, we're going to zero in on the application developer. Then we'll look at an example of kind of a sample database. We're going to use our database, which is DataStax Astra, give you a little bit of background about it. And then we'll look at how the database fits into the broader ecosystem of integrations and third-party software that make up an application stack. And then we'll finally look at how we've been able to leverage partnerships to help build these integrations and have a good kind of co-marketing, DevRel to DevRel kind of interaction with our partners. So just to get started, let's think about some of the different personas that are available in or that we might identify in the software development space. Now, these are just a few personas that I selected. Obviously, there could be many more, and you may decide to slice and dice personas differently. But first, let's think about administrators. So when administrators are working with a database, kind of what are they first thinking about? So we may be looking at status dashboards to understand kind of how the database is performing. We're interested in key metrics around consumption, so that the database memory or storage or CPU utilization is within some desired ranges. We may be looking at analytics to look at how the application is performing, whether it has the appropriate throughput, so that we can, and if it isn't, that we can take action on in order to allow our applications to run more efficiently. For administrators working with cloud services, they might also be worried about billing and consumption metrics, so we'll need tools to help them understand that. Another persona that we might think about are SREs or Devops engineers. And they might be more concerned with kind of the provisioning of our infrastructure and how do they stand up that infrastructure to support the applications that are being deployed. We might also be concerned with security and how well our middleware product can integrate into their existing security stack. They're deploying into a cloud, it might have some expectations that you support some of the common security features offered by, say, AWS or Google or Azure, like VPC peering or private link. DevOps engineers also might be worried or concerned about integrating into organization or identity management solutions through OAuth 2 or third-party vendors that provide identity management. And then they also may be kind of working around test automation. But this kind of the surface that the DevOps engineers typically work around is via APIs or via scripts or via command line interfaces, as opposed to maybe more web-based dashboards or visual dashboards as an administrator might look at. And what we're really going to be focusing more on are the application developers. So let's focus on developers, and specifically let's think about the set of technologies that make up the developer's landscape or their surface area. That's what I kind of call the developer's surface. And how is it as middleware providers we can hit the touch points that make development much simpler? One set of technologies that developers rely on are the tools that they use day in and day out to develop their applications. This includes interfaces like version control, the containers to run and test their code in dev environments. It could be their IDEs or smart editors. It could also be things like command line tools that they use to script or configure their infrastructure when they're doing development. And so as middleware providers, the places that we can connect into kind of those tools through maybe IDE plugins or CLIs that connect up to our infrastructure or sample scripts that help them be more efficient in provisioning, that just makes it that much easier to integrate into the tool set. Another set of technologies are designed to help developers write their applications more efficiently. So by providing drivers, SDKs, and sample code, we can accelerate development by abstracting away the low-level plumbing and configuration of our technology, allowing developers to focus on business logic. And lastly, we have integrations. So modern applications incorporate many technologies that constitute the application stack. The better and more effectively we can provide integrations into that stack, the easier it is for application developers to adopt and administer our technology. So let's drill down into integrations a little bit more. So here I've got just some examples of the types of integrations that might make up the application stack. And these give us some hints as to some touch points where we as database developers or middleware developers might want to look to insert integrations so that we can make application development much easier and more seamless. So that could be things like middleware technologies like workflow engines or stream processors, application servers or data pipelines. It could be monitoring tools that need to connect into our middleware solution so that it can get status and understand the metrics that are happening for our, in our case, a database. We might be concerned about data management tools, which might provide some tooling around data loading or data exploration or transformation of data through ETL. A lot of times application developers are using frameworks that are specific to individual programming languages. So the better that we can provide integration into those frameworks, either via plugins or SDKs, the easier it is for the applications to adopt our technology. For example, if a developer is a Java developer that's connecting to a database, we may want to make sure that we have appropriate JDBC drivers that can connect the application to the database more efficiently. Maybe using modeling tools or various security or identity management tools that need to integrate in with our database so that everything works seamlessly. So let's switch gears for a moment. And so we've talked about kind of the couple of personas. We're going to zero in on the application developer persona. And we've thought about some of the things that developers need, or some of the technologies that make up their surface. And we're going to kind of think about how, as database developers, we need to provide a robust integration ecosystem. So just before we get into some specific integrations, let me just give you a bit of background about DataStax' database, which is called Astra DB. DataStax Astra is our database as a service offering. It's built on the open source Apache Cassandra project and is available for deployment on AWS, Azure, or GCP. It's a flexible distributed database which offers high availability and scalability. And when working with Cassandra or our database service Astra, the data is distributed around a cluster in separate nodes to increase performance, and the data is replicated to make sure that your data is always available. So Astra eliminates the overhead of installing and operating and scaling Cassandra by providing it as a service. And workloads are deployed on workloads that are deployed on Astra are compatible with the open source Cassandra and will scale out on any or of the multiple public enabled clouds. So how does a developer work with Astra? So for developers, Astra provides a completely compatible experience with open source Cassandra tools. You can interact with your data using REST, GraphQL, and document APIs using the open source Stargate API gateway, which is included with Astra. You can also interact with data directly using the Cassandra query language, or CQL. And Astra provides an in-browser CQL shell, as well as multiple language-specific CQL drivers, which enable developers to create and interact with their data layer as a service more efficiently. And developers can try out Astra today, which provides 30 million reads, 5 million writes, and 40 gigabytes of storage per month for free. So today, developers are looking to leverage APIs to access the database as they implement their microservices. Enterprises are embracing Kubernetes to auto-scale and automate the provisioning and monitoring of the systems so as to reduce the total cost of ownership. Astra DB runs Apache Cassandra in a serverless deployment with Kubernetes to provide you with an open data stack on the cloud provider of choice. So that's a little bit of background about our DataStax Astra database. Now let's talk about a little bit about some of the integrations that we've been building with our development ecosystem or software ecosystem. To date, we have built around 46 integrations that cover a lot of the different categories that we had reviewed earlier when we were looking at integration touch points. Let me just identify a few of these integrations so you can kind of understand some of the use cases that we kind of work on or enable. If you're coming from the machine learning world, you may be familiar with the concept of a feature store. Well, Feast is an open source feature store for machine learning. It provides a Python-based SDK that makes it easy to get started quickly and integrates into the other ML tools pretty seamlessly. And this SDK supports Cassandra and Astra out of the box. If you're not that familiar with machine learning, a feature store is a machine learning specific data system that runs data pipelines that transform raw data into feature values and stores and manages the feature data itself, and then serves that feature data consistently for training and inference purposes. Now, when you wire up Feast to Astra DB becomes your online feature store, which provides a low latency, resilient data storage and lookup for ML models during inference. So, more simply, Astra DB provides the current data set used by the ML models as they're training. Another technology that we've recently developed integration for is Temporal. Temporal is an open source microservice orchestration platform that assists in tracking workflows in your application development. It provides the user with a plug-and-play persistence layer and lets the user choose and configure their temporal server with their preferred backend, such as Astra DB. Astra DB stores the data, the tasks that are executed in the workflow. It keeps track of the execution state. It also monitors and keeps track of the workflow event history. And the reason why we've found that Astra DB works particularly well with this workflow engine is that the production workflows in Temporal often generate massive amounts of data and are very write intensive. And that just happens to be some of the kind of key things that Cassandra and Apache and Astra DB excel at. Lastly, maybe one more integration that we might touch on is a Hashicorp Vault. So Hashicorp Vault is an identity-based secret and encryption management system. And with Hashicorp Vault, the plugin, we developed a plugin for Astra DB that allows you to take your application token management and delegate it into the Vault. So typically, Astra DB application tokens are not tied to a specific user, or they don't have specific metadata or descriptions associated with them, but Vault allows you to add that additional levels of security so that in case you lose track of the ownership or you need to track token usage, Vault adds to that additional capabilities. And it's commonly used in other parts of an application stack, so then you could use Vault as a single solution to manage all of your authorization metadata. So that's just a sampling of some of the integrations that we've developed over the years. But how do we publish these and make these available to our users? So within DataStax, we have a service or a site called Awesome Astra. This is our developer site that is kind of serves two purposes. One, it provides all the getting started, a tutorial material for people that are getting started with our technology, giving them kind of how-to documents to help developers understand some of the key concepts, gives them sample code to get them started, and does it in a very kind of developer-centric language. But then it also houses our marketplace of integrations. And an interesting thing is when we developed this site is we did it open source. So the repository is available on GitHub. and it makes it it gives us the ability to enable content creators, both internal people, DataStax employees, as well as our partners, to author new content, new tutorials around integrations, promote new plugins, promote new sample code. So that's been a pretty good way to kind of centralize all of our integration information into kind of a single marketplace that makes it easy for developers to search and find things. So once we've developed an integration, how do we work with partners to promote it? So we have, as we kind of develop these integrations, we work with our partners in a few different ways. So one, we'll write up some tutorial or blog content with our partner. We may collaborate on sample code or plugins or accelerators to help developers understand how these two technologies work together. And then typically we also work with partners to do workshops. So our workshops are free, and basically we will take attendees through different sample code environments, have them build something, and answer questions with both us and our partners as we take them through different use cases. So if you're interested in learning more about DataStax or Cassandra or Astra DB, I encourage you to check out our YouTube series. It is on our DataStax Devs YouTube channel, and you could get started with just the Intro to Cassandra workshop series. Also, if you're coming from a Cassandra background, or you're interested in NoSQL, or you're looking for how you can integrate kind of a NoSQL distributed database into your application stack, check out the awesome Astra site. And I also included some links there for some of our upcoming live events. So let's open it up for some Q&A.
Sounds great. That was awesome. Thank you so much, Greg, for that great presentation. Tons of fascinating information. I'm actually just going to very quickly, before we jump into the Q&A, I'm going to put a poll up on the screen for you all. And what I would love right now is, I'm sure your brains are all nice and lit up by that wonderful presentation. So if you can click on the poll we've got on the screen here, let us know what additional information you would like to get about the DataStax solution. Again, this is such an important way to reach out directly to the DataStax team, let them know what you want to hear, what follow-up they can send you. So, make your life easy. Instead of having to go for information, they're going to send it right to you. So click on the poll there, and they will follow up with you. Okay, Greg, we have some amazing questions coming in. Are you ready to jump in?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, I do want to ask this one up first because I just want to make sure that we get this clarified for Deb. And she wants to make sure that you do partner with, you were mentioning the partners, that you are working with the big 4 cloud platforms. So just confirming that that's correct.
So we deploy to AWS, we deploy to Google Cloud, and we deploy to Azure. Those are the vendors that we work with today. Perfect.
That's exactly who she was looking for, so you nailed it. Well, great. Okay, and then following up on that, so Peter here is wondering about the replication in Astra DB. And his question is if it's going to work across the different regions in AWS, or is the inherent latency going to prevent that?
No, you can develop your applications that work across across cloud vendors and across regions and data centers. So yeah, that is something that is supported. And we do have some tutorial content that covers those setups.
Amazing. See, nice, easy answer for you there, Peter. You got a high five from Chris out there who wanted to say he got some great information. And then looking ahead, so we did have a few questions from people about the different integrations, and you walked us through a lot of those. How easy is it to actually connect the database to other technologies?
Yeah, so it really depends on the actual third-party tool. So sometimes when we build an integration, everything just works out of the box, and we just publish a simple how-to. Follow these 5 steps to get your technology to connect to our database. Sometimes it requires some sample code, and so in our developer site, we'll publish the samples that you might need, some sample build files that you might need to introduce into your environment, and things like that. And then other times it requires a little bit more work, in which case then we work together with our partner to develop a plugin or some improvements to both sides of the relationship so that we can make these things work together.
Perfect, nice and easy. Angie wants you to know you pre-answered to the question she was going to ask. That's very Skynet of you there, Greg. I think, so this one's kind of an interesting one because, so there's a lot of questions and we were just talking about latency and things. So if you are looking to keep data synchronized between database and other sources, how does that work?
So yeah, so Astra supports this concept called change data capture. So we have, our site actually has kind of 2 products. One is the database and then one is a streaming technology we call Astra Streaming. Which is a multi-cloud streaming as a service built on the open source Apache Pulsar product or project. So we use basically a simple configuration-based approach, so you can enable CDC or change data capture on one or more of your database tables, and then publish those changes to an event topic through streaming to any other technology. It could be Elastic, it could be other databases, it could be other Amazon services or other cloud services that you need to synchronize with.
Perfect. Well, and speaking of that, we've had 2 people now ask, so I'm going to make sure we get this asked, about integrating with data visualization platforms, and obviously 2 of the big ones, Power BI or Tableau.
Yeah, we do, and we're actually in the process of building out a new set of new tutorials around Power BI specifically. So if you are tracking our developer site, I would say watch this space in the next couple of weeks, and we should have a new tutorial on how you wire up Power BI and Tableau.
Oh, very exciting.
We have been getting some stuff from customers about that the last few weeks.
Nice. Okay. Well, that's exciting. And actually, we did get a question about those training workshops. So can you give us a little bit more information about the training workshop options and how they actually work?
Yeah, they're a total blast. So we basically host them every Wednesday. These are set up on YouTube. They're free to attend. Anyone can join. And it's a very interactive session where our developer advocates and many times our partner developer advocates will work with you and take you step by step and build some kind of use case. It might be maybe a video game that uses AstraDB as the back end. It might be introducing you to concepts around machine learning and AI. It might introduce you to some new web frameworks that you're not familiar with. And it's usually lasts about 2 hours. Have prizes, play some games, but then they're also available on our YouTube channel for replay for anyone that wants to go do self-learning at their own pace.
Perfect. I love that. As somebody who is a big fan of those online classes, I like to have that option where you can, the asynchronous versus synchronous is a really good split. Well, Greg, this has been absolutely fascinating. I wish we could keep going, but we do have to move it on. Before we wrap up today, if somebody is looking to get started with DataStax, are those training classes where they start? Do they visit the website or, demos, trials? What's the first step?
So I would go to datastax.com, and then in our deck we did have some links to kind of how to get started with workshops and how to find the developer site. Awesome, Astra.
Perfect. I love that. Okay, well, Greg, thank you again for being here with us and kicking off our EcoCast today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Cool. Thank you.
And thank you to everyone who filled out the poll or asked a question. If you do want to learn more right away, please do head on over to that Handouts tab. Click on the white paper from DataStax. It's called Data Modernization, a Future State. Really interesting information on how to think about data platform modernization, how to select and prioritize systems, and the outcomes that can be achieved with that modernization. So definitely worth a read. Download that now. Save that for after we wrap today. But for now, we're going to keep moving along because it is time for a prize giveaway. So our very first prize of the day is a $500 Amazon gift card, a reminder that you must be present at the live webinar here to win. And our very first lucky winner today of a $500 Amazon gift card is Josh Wenke of Michigan. Josh Wenke of Michigan, you have won a $500 Amazon gift card. As always, we will be in touch about claiming your prize after the webinar. And I do want to remind you that there are still 2 more chances to win, plus that best question gift card after each session. And again, even if we don't get to your question today, all of those questions are going to the teams after the fact. So you'll get answers and you're entered to win that best question prize. But for now, we're going to keep moving along here because we have another exciting session for you all. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce you to our next presenter in today's EcoCast, Vishwa Balur, Senior Director, Product Management at Informatica. Vishwa, thank you so much for being here with us today on the EcoCast. I know you've got a ton of great content, so I'm going to hand the mic on over to you.
Hey, thanks, Jess. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Vishwa Belur. I take care of product management for data integration products, cloud data integration products at Informatica. So today, I'm going to speak about, coming up, the slide is coming up, yeah. Accelerating analytics and AI with cloud native data ingestion and replication. So this is an interesting concept because many of our customers talk about how to get the data from their sources into their cloud data warehouses or data lakes, and also replication. I think my previous speaker was speaking about change data capture, so you're going to hear more about that in this session. Right. So let's start with the business challenges. Right. So with cloud data management, what are the main challenges that the customers face? 96% of the customers who attended this survey talked about resource constraints, right? So with respect to their engineering and IT bandwidth that's available for taking up new projects. And 75% talk about cost overruns. I mean, some of them start with using the cloud services and you know, they figure out that sometimes it becomes very expensive, and 75% of the mention that you know, they are questioning the value of the cloud service, right? And 72% are still struggling to operationalize their flows within the enterprise, right? So essentially, there are a lot of challenges that customers run into from the business side when they look at cloud data management. So what are the challenges at various stages of data management, right? So, I mean, as you would expect, the data, when you're moving to cloud for data management, there are various aspects that you would cover as part of the stages, right? So the first is discover, to figure out what sources of information do I have, right? That's the biggest first step. And then once you discover the assets that you need to bring in, how do I get that data into the cloud? Either which is what the focus of today's is, which is ingest and replicate, right? And once you get the data, how do I ensure that the data is clean and of high quality that could be usable? And then you talk about governing the data. How do I keep track of and govern the data across cloud and on-premises systems? And master data, so which is essentially how do I get 360-degree view of my customer partners and suppliers, and secure. And while we do all this, it's important that, you know, I secure my high-risk data across the cloud environment so that, you know, it doesn't get leaked and doesn't get proliferated in an unintended manner. Okay, so as I said, today we are going to focus on the ingest and replicate. That's the part of the session that I'm going to speak about, right? So if you look at Informatica Data Management Cloud, here is our reference architecture. Sorry, the text is maybe small, right? But I'm going to get into the details of it, right? So you have the data catalog and governance, which will help you to get the data or discover the data within your enterprise. Once you get the details of the data that you want to bring in, data ingestion and replication methodology solves to getting the data into your cloud targets, whether it is, stream storage like Kafka or the cloud data lake like S3 or ADLS and Google Cloud Storage, etc. And also some of them get replicated directly into a cloud data warehouse for downstream consumption, right? So let's say the data lands into a data lake, so you would want to do downstream data integration techniques to apply your enrichments and so on and so forth, so that the data is ready for your analytics. This could also include the data quality, so that you can apply data quality techniques, right? And then the data is provisioned for your business use cases, be it real-time analytics or enterprise analytics or line of business and essentially the self-service or analytics, or even data science use cases, right? So that's how the data gets consumed from the sources of information that you have ingested. So that Ingestion provides a view of how we see the reference architecture for data warehouse and data lake from various customer conversations. Let me move to the next slide. So if you look at the data ingestion and replication from various sources is critical for cloud modernization, right? So essentially the data is distributed across your enterprise, whether it is coming in the form of files or from your mainframe systems or even machine data like IoT sources, right? Or from your apps like SaaS applications like CRM data or Salesforce or any of the other sources that you need to get into your data lake or data warehouse for various use cases involving just the ingestion or data warehouse modernization or even real-time analytics, right? So those are some of the important use cases that you want to solve with the data ingestion and replication. So let's look at some of the customers who used Informatica IDMC, Informatica Data Management, Intelligent Data Management Cloud for solving their ingestion and replication use cases, right? So we have KLA here who migrated 12 years worth of data over a weekend with Informatica, right? So they used continuous data replication from Oracle to Snowflake. Their data source was SAP, which is sitting on Oracle. They migrated it's actually replicated data onto Snowflake for their analytics use cases, right? So they use cloud mass ingestion, which I'm going to speak about more. And then there's another customer, which is University of New Orleans, right? So they increased student enrollment and improved retention of the students using Informatica solutions. So they accelerated the cloud data warehouse modernization journey from Oracle to Snowflake. So they moved data from thousands of Oracle tables into Snowflake, and also which reduced the manual effort by up to 90%. Right. So those are some of the interesting customer case studies or use cases that were solved using Informatica cloud solutions. So now let's look at what is Informatica solution for data ingestion and replication. That's called cloud mass ingestion. It's part of our cloud, IDMC solution, right? It's a unified experience for ingestion, so you can ingest data from a variety of sources, whether it is databases or CDC, which is the change data capture using various mechanisms, streaming data like Kafka or IoT, and files and applications like SaaS applications like Salesforce or even on-prem applications like SAP, ECC, etc. that you want to get in. And it offers a step-by-step wizard for ingesting, right? In designing and creation of the data, creation of the task. So you can, I'll show you a quick demonstration of how the solution would look like. It offers the deployment, scheduling, and real-time monitoring, so that you can keep track of how the job is performing with respect to the number of data that's moved, as well as the latency and performance of it. Okay, so there, as I said, there are 4 components of mass ingestion. First being the databases, right? So cloud mass ingestion databases, which helps you to move data from or ingest and replicate data from mainframes, your databases, on-prem databases, and app servers or data warehouses, right? So essentially, what it does is it captures the changes and also the bulk load from these sources, and then move that into the cloud data warehouse and data lakes, and also onto a messaging system like Kafka for any downstream real-time analytics use cases that you may have. So note that all the components of mass ingestion follow the similar pattern with the wizard-based experience and the things like real-time monitoring and those capabilities that we provide. Right. So the next one is applications, which cloud mass ingestion application, which would help you to ingest data from on-prem and SaaS applications like Oracle, NetSuite and ServiceNow, Workday, and those kind of things, as well as on-prem applications like SAP, ECC, etc. Right. So those are some of the capabilities that actually brings in. So it can move data into a data warehouse or a data lake for downstream consumption for analytics use cases, right? So moving on to the next component, which is the mass ingestion streaming. So here is where it gets interesting, where you have data from your devices, IoTs, and so on and so forth that you need to bring into your data lake for downstream analytics use cases. So this is and this solution helps you to bring data from various IoT devices, whether it is MQTT based or OPC based, or even messaging systems like Kafka, Amazon Kinesis, JMS, etc. So which you want to bring it into your downstream, into your data lake, or even Kafka or messaging system, so that you could consume that downstream, right? So note that, as I said, all of them use a similar pattern with the wizard-based deployment, wizard-based experience for ingestion and deployment, right? So the last but not the least is the files. Right? You have local files that you need to bring into your onto your cloud, or it could be from cloud to cloud migration. Many of our customers are moving data from, say, who have multi-cloud deployment. They want to move data from, say, AWS into Azure, right? So they could use the file mass ingestion for moving data from in the file format into that. It also offers various capabilities like virus scans and actions that you could do on the files while you ingest, right? So moving on, I want to show you a quick demonstration of our capabilities using the mass ingestion solution, right? So let me share my screen. Just please let me know when you're able to see my screen.
I'm watching.
Yeah.
The fun of live events. Oh, yeah, we gotcha. We're with you, Vishwa. We can see.
Right. All right. Thanks, Jess. So thanks
No
for confirming.
problem.
All right. So yeah, I know there's always, hopefully this demo works always. Live demos are interesting. Okay. So let me, this is our Informatica Intelligent Cloud Services, or Informatica Intelligent Data Management Cloud, right? So I actually log into my account here, right? And then I provide my password and log in, right? So once I log in, I see various services that the IDMC offers, right? I'm interested in of course, this includes application integration, data quality, data profiling, anything to do with data management, we have it here, right? So including integration hub, etc. So I'm interested in mass ingestion, and hence I click on the mass ingestion thing. That will help me to replicate data from one of my sources into the cloud, right? So it's loading in. All right. So once it comes in, right? So I have the option here on the top left called New, which is where I can choose which type of ingestion task that I can configure, right? So I'm given that I'm interested in Oracle to Snowflake replication. I'm going to choose the database ingestion task. However, I'm not going to create a new one, but I could always create a new one. Today, I'm going to show the one that's already created, right? And note that the same kind of experience is available for applications, files, and streaming as well, right? So I will go back and open the one that I've already created. So I have Oracle to Snowflake, combined application task that I'm going to open right now. Okay, it is coming. All right. So here is, note that it's a four-step wizard, right? So we are not talking about creating a lot of mappings or flows within your view to move the data, right? So it's a combined load, which is essentially initial and incremental. However, before that, I'll just edit and provide some description here, right? And then I choose the initial and incremental. So there are three types of loads here, right? So the first is initial load, which is like bulk movement. If you have thousands of tables that you just want to move it over to the cloud, you can choose that. Incremental load is the CDC, change data capture from the source, and then load that into the target system. Initial and incremental is do the initial bulk load first. While the initial load is happening, keep tracking the changes so that you can also apply the changes that are coming in onto the target so that you can keep the source and target system in sync, right? So I'm going with the initial and incremental loads, and then I move on to the source stack, right? So here is the details of my source, right? So I'm using an Oracle RDS connection here, right? And then I also choose one of the schemas that I'm interested in. So I'm choosing the schema. And you have an option to choose select all, right? So which means, if you want to just dump everything that you have from the source into the target, you can choose, or you can do a rule-based selection, right? So which means that you can choose the type of tables that you want to bring in, right? You can even, as you see here, there are rules that you could create, table selection rules, which include the ability to include or exclude, right? Or even column actions like ltrim, rtrim, etc. that you could do as a part of the ingestion job, right? So I will go with, I've already created a table here with this condition, right? So I include the table with this particular name, right? And then I say I will preview the selection here, right? Just to see what that rule will give me, right? So it has one table. Of course, it could be multiple tables as well. Given that I've chosen one specific table, it is coming back with one table, and it has 17 columns. I can choose to see it, right? So it has the type of columns, and then the data type is shown so that you know how the table is actually looking like, and then I'm happy with what I've chosen, right? So there are some other options here like Cdc Script. So which, given that I've chosen incremental as well, so I need to choose, I need to have the ability to capture changes from the source, right? So that Cdc Script, which is essentially enables supplemental logging, etc., right? So you could actually execute them right from here. So I'm enabling Cdc for all the columns, or you can choose Cdc from primary key columns alone, right? And then there are also options like advanced options like how in case of what is the restart point for in incremental load, which is essentially when the job fades over, so where it can start, right? So I'll say latest available, but you have option to choose from a specific date and time as well, right? And that's it. So you can provide all the source specific parameters here, and there are some custom properties that you can do as well, but I'm going to ignore that for the time being, right? So now I move to the target, right? So here is where I choose my target, which is Snowflake target here, right? And then I've chosen to create target tables. Note that depending on the tables that you have chosen at the source, it should automatically create the targets based on the data type conversion that we have, right? Between Oracle and Snowflake, right? So in this case, there are, we use the staging area, so which you will have to provide, and then apply mode, right? So there are three apply modes here, right? So one is standard, which means that whenever there are some changes happen, we will apply them on the target, right? Soft delete is when for all the other changes like insert and update, we apply the changes. For soft delete, we will mark that as deleted at the source, right? So deleted at the source, but not still marked as soft deleted or deleted at the target. And audit is essentially whenever there is an insert or update or delete, we can show how the audit column would actually look like, right? How the audit of the changes would look like. And then note that we also have the table selection, table renaming. So I chose all the tables here and then rename that to SF_star. So all the tables would be renamed that way. And then I'll add the rule so that it's there, right? And then I can also define the data type rules. As I said, there's a default data type conversion between source and target. However, if you choose to change it, you could do that. But I'm leaving the way it is, right? So now I move to the scheduling and runtime options. Here is where you need to see what would you do in case of schema drift. So schema drift is essentially if there is something in the source schema changes, how do you want that to be addressed, right? So we have the option to replicate or ignore or stop a job or stop a table, but I'm going to choose the ignore, which is the default. Replicate, which is the default, and then go with the other default options, right? So there you go. So you are done with your ingestion job configuration. So you can move with this. You can move thousands of tables from source to target and keep them in sync with the series. So I'm going to save it, right, and then deploy that, right? So when I say deploy, it actually sets up the tables, creates the tables at the target, sets up ensures that all the source tables have supplemental logging enabled and all that, right? So it's going to take some time. So now it's deployed, right? So now I can go to my jobs and then see how the jobs actually look like, right? So this is deployed now. So what I do is I'm going to run the job, right? So it's being started. So when it starts, it goes to up and running, right? I can click on the job here and get to the real-time monitoring. This is what I was mentioning as the real-time monitoring, right? So it provides the details on the job, how many tables, and so on and so forth, right? So once I go to the object details, I can see how many tables are actually running. So I see that one table that I've chosen has started. So this provides a view of how mass ingestion helps the customers move from on-prem data into the cloud and also keep them in sync between the on-prem and the cloud, right? So in summary, Informatica Cloud Mass Ingestion provides cloud native ingestion and replication. So just I'm ensuring that you're seeing the slides again back. Is that correct?
You're back off screen share, so you're good to go. You're back on the slides.
All right. Okay, cool. So in summary, Mass Ingestion provides a cloud-native ingestion and replication solution using a wizard-based experience that you saw. It offers out-of-the-box connectivity to various sources, whether it is databases, CDC, and IoTs, and also applications. And it offers a wizard-based experience, as you saw, which provides edge transformations and also simple and easy to provide a view to configure the task. And real-time monitoring experience provides a pictorial view of the ingestion job, right? And also lifecycle management and alerting capabilities that are available. All right. Moving on to the next slide. So we offer a free 30-day trial of Cloud Mass Ingestion. You can go and sign up on this link and get your own free 30-day trial and experience all these functionality yourself in our cloud. All right. So these are some of the materials that we have with respect to mass ingestion, which includes the demo, data sheet, and also some of the white papers that we have published around the ingestion and how critical it is for the whole data warehouse and data lake journey in the cloud. Right. So I would strongly encourage you to look at some of these materials so that you can learn from the experience of customers and also our conversations with them.
All right.
Okay, so I'll give it, are you ready to go? If I give it a little pause and then we'll jump in?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay, great. So I'm gonna give us about a few seconds here, and then I'm going to jump into the thank yous and we'll take it from there.
Sure.
Okay. Oh, wow, Vishwa, thank you so much for such an awesome presentation. We already have a ton of questions coming in, and I want to get to as many of those as we can. So Vishwa, are you ready to dive into some questions here?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be glad to take up some questions, Jess. Please go ahead.
Okay. Well, we're going to start with this one from Deb because I find this really interesting. So she's wondering, where does Informatica fall within the Gartner Magic Quadrant? So we're looking at challengers, leaders, niche players, visionaries. Where are you in that quadrant?
Yeah, Informatica is an outright leader in all the 4 Gartner Magic Quadrants, including the data integration, data quality, master data management, and also IPaaS, right? And coming to data integration Magic Quadrant, which is the crux of the conversation today, we have been the leader in the data integration Magic Quadrant for 17 years. And the outright leader for past 10 years straight through, right? And that's where some of the capabilities that we showcase today falls into, like the data replication, data integration, and also data transformation, and those capabilities are the critical capabilities that customers look at as a part of the data integration Magic Quadrant.
Well, that's pretty exciting. Congrats on being a leader for 17 years. That's quite the accomplishment.
Okay. And also just to add to it, right? Yeah. So it's not just the Gartner Magic Quadrants. We are also leaders in the Forrester Waves, and as well as the IDC's marketplaces that IDC publishes in both in all the categories, whichever that you go, wherever we participate, we are the leaders.
I love that. All the good things. Okay, well, let's take this one from Rajesh. He's wondering if you could give an idea for the time that it takes for the data ingestion in relation to the volume of data.
That's really an interesting question. So, in fact, it depends on the volume, like we saw in the 2 use cases that we showcased, right? So there are, one customer was able to get 600 gigabytes worth of data in a span of like few hours, whereas another customer moved a terabyte of data over a weekend. And it also depends on the volume. It also depends on the kind of the data sizes that you have with respect to column sizes, etc. But in general, it takes some amount of time for people to do the bulk load. But when it comes to replication, the CDC also plays an important role, right? So we are a real-time replication solution, so which means that as and when changes happen at the source, we straight through move that onto the target in a real-time manner. So if there are changes happening at your source, it would automatically move to the target system, be it data warehouses or data lakes. Hopefully that makes sense to Rajesh.
Yeah, I'm sure he appreciates that answer. Okay, let's do one last question as we're kind of running out of time here. But this one from Rob is a good one, I think. And what he's wondering is if you could dig in a little bit to what Informatica is going to charge for its services. So is it transactional? Is there a subscription model? Just what kind of cost people can expect?
That's a great question. So yeah, I mean, as you would expect, most of the industry has moved to consumption-based pricing now, and Informatica is no different. So we charge customers based on the consumption, not really in the past where it used to be the perpetual licensing. So we charge customers. Coming to mass ingestion that we spoke about, there are 2 matrices on which we actually charge customers. One is the bulk load, which is the initial bulk load that you're doing from from databases or applications onto the cloud data warehouses, etc., that's charged by the volume of the data that's moved in gigabytes, right? So if it's a terabyte, you would be charged differently, whereas it's a few hundred gigabytes, you would be charged differently. And when it comes to CDC or the change data, it's based on the number of changes that happen at the source. So if there are like 500 changes that happen on your source system every day, you would be charged differently than the ones where 1 million changes happen, right? So it's purely a consumption-driven model from our customer perspective.
I like that. That makes sense. Okay, well, as I said, we're running a bit low on time. I wish we could keep going because we still have a lot of great questions. I do want to remind everyone out there that if we did not get to your question in the live session today, we will make sure that it gets to the Informatica team, so you will hear back from them. But Vishwa, before you take off, if somebody out there is looking to get started with Informatica, they've just fallen totally in love, and they're ready to jump in, what do you suggest? What's their first step?
I'm glad you asked that question. So we have a free 30-day trial, as you saw during the presentation, right? So I'm just flashing it here. So please sign up. The link is available here, so you can sign up and get a free 30-day trial and start and provide us feedback. We'll be here glad to hear your feedback and also understand how you are able to move data from your source into target. Right. And then, as I showed, there are a lot of materials that we've created and made it available for customers like you to look at. Especially, I would really encourage you guys to look at, like I mentioned during my session, these data ingestion blogs, especially around critical use cases for application ingestion, and also white papers around what is data ingestion, what are the key use cases, etc. So please feel free to look at them and make use of it. While you start with cloud mass ingestion.
I love that. Yeah, and that white paper, What is Data Ingestion? Learn Key Use Cases, Capabilities, and Tools, is available in your handout section right now. Just click on the Informatica link. Really interesting information. A great way to follow up on our session today. So be sure to download that and save for later. And with that, I think we'll wrap it up. But Vishwa, thank you so much. This has been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much, Jess. Really appreciate the time from the attendees, and thanks for attending it, and wish you the very best for the next part, maybe the next attendees.
We do have a prize giveaway now, so I'm going to jump right into that. So again, we're giving away a $500 Amazon gift card. A quick reminder that you do need to be present here at the webinar to win. And our next lucky winner of an Amazon gift card for $500 is Dave Bursky from California. Dave Bursky from California, you have won a $500 Amazon gift card. So as always, we will be in touch about claiming your prize. I want to remind you all that there's still that chance to win the best question asked. So keep those questions coming in, even if we don't get to them, even if speakers get disconnected or whatever happens in a live event. We do look at all the questions after the fact, so you will get a chance to win that best question asked. And for now, we're going to keep moving along in our webinar, because I know that we have our next speaker in here, and it is my absolute pleasure to introduce you to Martin Durant, Staff Software Engineer at Anaconda. Martin, thank you so much for joining us here today. I'm very excited for your presentation. So without any further ado, the platform is all yours.
Thank you very much. Now, my presentation, I realize, will be quite different in tone from the ones that you've heard so far. Anaconda, yes, it is a company, but I will be talking about Python and open source software. So very different from the monolithic software as a service platforms that we've been hearing about so far. Okay, so here's a brief overview. I'll try not to spend too long on this. I'll talk about what data science is and why it has that magic word data right there in it, what Python is, what open source is, and what any of this has to do with databases, and where do you go from here. I don't have a live demo here, so I can do lots of talking, and we can have questions and hopefully a little bit of discussion time. All right, so data science. This is a term that you will have heard, no doubt, over the last couple of decades or so. There are other phrases and words that have come to the fore and then maybe backed off a bit, and these include big data and data lakes and AI and machine learning, neural networks. So there's a whole load of different things that have become buzzy. And this is because basically the way that we use data, the way that we do computing has changed massively over the last 20 years or so. And the main reason for that is that we just have so much more data than ever before. We can store it, we can process it, and the old way of doing things no longer applies, or at least it's taken a back seat. So here I'm claiming data science, the term itself is 10 years old, and that's when you take all your data and you do some kind of wizardry to it, whether it's statistics or whether it's coding, you mix all these things in together. Actual science takes part in this, and the reason you do all of this is because you want business inference. And the way you get there is by mathematical modeling. You used to be able to do statistics on your databases before, but now this is a thing in its own right. People actually do degrees in data science. And it turns out there's a lot of these people. And in fact, they outnumber the IT professionals that set up the systems. Everybody wants to get after the data. Everybody wants to do inference. Secondly, Python is a programming language. I'm not going to show you code, don't worry about it, but it is true that anybody who is learning code, and this is now quite likely they're doing it at secondary school or maybe even earlier, they are learning Python. Everybody is learning Python. This graph here is actually, you'll see, already a few years out of date. It's grown even more than this, but this is the one that I could easily find. Python as a programming language has just outpaced everything else. And that's Python in general. So this is the most recent that I could find. This is, I don't even know what the survey is, but they're just asking people, what do you program in? Python, right at the top. And so what does that have to do with us? Why is that important? Why do people do this? Well, that was for general programming use. But actually data science as a thing that you might use a programming language for, even more heavily biased towards Python. As I mentioned, it's probably the thing that people are learning. And it's also just really good at lots of different tasks. It is often said to be the second best language at everything. So it might not be the best for a specific task, but it can do all the tasks really well. So it tends to be a thing that comes between everything else, holds stuff together. I call this glue. And that's because even though the programming itself is really simple, you can use it as an engine to execute really complex algorithms, which is what data science is all about. That means that you can get from data to results to inference in a minimum amount of effort. So the third thing here, we have data science, we have Python. What is open source? Open source is an ethos, if you like. It's where you can get hold of the original source code, you can change it, you can copy it. You are free with a capital F as in freedom. You can do whatever you like with it. Also, it's free in the terms that you don't have to pay for it. Again, this is very different from the other things that you've heard about here. Do you want this? Well, it turns out, yes, you do. So I'm going to try and convince you why this is in your interest. One of the first most things here is that A, you can get involved with it yourself. You can get new features. You can stick with cutting edge software that is many years ahead of what a software house can bring to you because it's right there and it's immediately available. Many people are viewing the code, so mistakes that happen in all software are squashed very quickly. And you always get a very fast development cycle, meaning that if you request something, it can be ready a week later for you to install without you having to pay anything, which is kind of mind-blowing to many people. The idea behind this is that we want code to be available to everyone, we want data to be available to everyone, and we want data literacy, knowing what to do with that data to be available to as wide a group of people in society as possible. Lots of the big software players are on board. So I've listed Microsoft, Amazon, Google. There are many more. They actively support open source, even though they have obviously a profit of their own that they're trying to make. everybody comes together for open source. Here's a rather old diagram of what they call the PyData stack. So this is a bunch of different packages all operating in the Python world. And although they all do specific different things, there's a sort of hierarchy here with Python, the foundation of the programming language at the bottom, then basic packages that work within Python on the layer above, and then we have some visualization or statistics-specific packages above it, and then domain-specific packages above that, like machine learning. And actually, this is a little bit scientifically skewed, so that's why I say this is a little bit out of date. The point of it is that whatever task you want to get done in this PyData Python ecosystem, there is a thing that does that for you. And because of open standards, open protocols, all of the different pieces work well together. They talk to each other, and they are generalists, so they can accept input from one another. So that means whatever your task is, Python and this ecosystem is flexible enough to achieve it. I've also added a couple of extra ones on the right-hand side here, TensorFlow and PyTorch. Those are machine learning, artificial intelligence frameworks. You have probably heard of them, and they are extremely important these days for, again, turning very large amounts of data into real business insights. They also play well in this ecosystem. That's why they're here. So to reiterate some of this, now I have a miniature version of the diagram. The details of it are not really that important. There are many pieces to this ecosystem, but they fit together well, and they form a coherent whole, so that if you have very specific needs, there will be something that addresses those needs, but you can fit together all of the pieces and get a pipeline that does all of the job from beginning to end, from ingest to processing to statistical analysis and visualization. Everything is there. And it's fast. All of this is programmed in Python, executed from Python, but the code that actually runs is low-level stuff that runs as fast as code can run. And finally, Conda, this is the first sort of mention of anything Anaconda specific. Conda is a way for you to make sure that when you execute your pipeline, all of the pieces that you need are there, all of the versions of those packages are correct and compatible with one another, which is completely vital. And furthermore, if I'm running something on my machine or on my part of the common infrastructure, and you're running something else, that they are running the same versions of everything, we get the same answer. That is so often not the case if you let people figure things out for themselves. Okay, I am highlighting just one particular example of a package because it happens to be one that I lead, and it's called FSpec. FSpec is a package which allows Python to be able to talk to several different kinds of storage backends, such as S3 or Amazon Cloud, or even Dropbox and Azure and FTP and HTTP and Hadoop, and I don't know, there's loads of these. I actually can't even give you the full range of them. And the point of this package is that it makes all of these storage solutions appear to work the same from the point of view of the package that's calling FSpec. It's not something that you would ever install yourself in its own right, but it's something that is just there, and it's doing this job for you so that it can, all of these different packages that I list below, they all call FSpec, and you don't need to worry about it because of the way that PyData plugs together all these different tools. Everything just works. And you can move on to these much more high-profile productivity packages, like Pandas is maybe one of the biggest things that exists in data analysis at the moment, for tabular data at least. Or if you want to scale out your compute to a massive cluster of multiple machines, then there are tools for that. And they all depend on this one little piece that is designed to work well with everything else. All right, so changing tack a little bit, what is a database? We haven't really specified that yet. Databases have been around for a long, long time. and also SQL, which is a programming language for getting results out of databases, has also been around for an extremely long time. And it's all about making tables with fields and then views on those tables and queries to get information out. Databases allow you to atomically update information. They allow you to add rows and delete stuff. And very commonly, they are used in REST endpoints. That is a way of interacting with data over the internet. And it's super common. It's basically, it's ubiquitous. It's everywhere. And it comes up in lots of different data models. So for example, you have these entities I list here, whether we're talking about a web app, supply management, or finance. There are entities which you can encode as tables within a traditional database. And you might end up with something like this diagram where all these different things are related to each other. They form a cohesive whole, and you can make queries on it to get out the information that you need. I'm going to ignore NoSQL for the moment because it became very popular, but then the regular traditional databases caught up. So if you have questions about that, you can ask, but I'm going to ignore it for now. Databases also can be free. PostgreSQL, if you want to pronounce the whole thing, is the gold standard, and it does all the things that you might want. You have full schemas, complex data types. It's very fast. You can deploy it on multiple machines, so you have high availability, and you can interact with it from just about anything else that understands data. So whether it's your Tableau front end or your BI package or whatever, it can interact with Postgres. In fact, it might well contain Postgres inside it so that it can do its own data manipulation. It might be all you need, and it is super commonly used. But it turns out that data has become bigger and bigger and bigger. So what happens now? Well, we store more information. We probably store it in the cloud. That means that maybe if we still want a database model, if we still want to use this traditional way of looking at data, that we need a software framework or a data management framework that is specifically geared towards working in the cloud. And there is a few here. So why would you want to do this? Well, as I say, they are specifically built for this, and they provide very high throughput. That's really the one super important thing that they get you, is that you can just churn through more rows than you could do with a traditional database. Also, they come with, for example, uptime guarantees and other guarantees on reliability of your data, nothing getting deleted. That is very important for being able to audit, but it all comes at a cost financially, and it reduces flexibility compared to other data management systems. It might be the solution for you. It might not be the solution for you if particularly the flexibility and the cost is not something that you want to bear. So what else can you do? Well, as this is of course my point. If you're in the Python world and in the open source world, then we have you covered. There are frameworks like Astra and PySpark that allow you to do the same kind of data processing as traditional SQL queries would do, and a lot more. So they're super, super flexible by comparison. They can do all of the things. They can do very complex workflows. All of this is free, and all of it can be deployed on your laptop, on a traditional supercomputer, on a Hadoop network, on just about any kind of deployment system that you might happen to have, including your on-premises solution or in the cloud. The point of it is that it actually uses Python. And since all of your data scientists already know Python, it means no retraining, no retooling. You just plug in the pieces and everything is going to work. And you can present this you can write library code to distribute amongst your employees. You can write notebooks for demonstrating your workflows and output. You can make live dashboards that query your data and show results in real time. You can do all of these things. The example here, by the way, is an actual compute. So this is a live computation that's happening on someone's very small GPU-empowered cluster. I have no idea what it's doing. It's just something that I happen to lay my hands on. The point of it is that you have a super lot of information at your fingertips about how your compute is happening. And if you're on the development side of your company, you can use this information to make things go much faster. So I went through that pretty fast. I want to leave plenty of time for questions and discussion. So thank you very much.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Martin. I was laughing at the, I don't know what this is doing, but it looks good. It's doing something important. All right,
yeah,
well,
it's quite a meme for people just to watch these things happen.
It really is. Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, I never thought that I'd be somebody who got excited about data, but I have to say, watching really cool data displays and dashboards, it is kind of thrilling, and especially when you get into the story that it's telling.
Yes, I think so. And there's so that was from Dask, which is a project I'm associated with. All of those tools give you tons of feedback so that you can understand what your system is actually doing, which like the previous question, how long will this process take? That is something that you can actually figure out for yourself. And it can be super important because there's a big difference between 10 minutes and 10 days.
A huge difference, yeah, absolutely. And actually, you know, that ties in nicely because we did get a couple of questions about training, and you just said right at the end there, no retraining. But we had a few questions from people saying, like, how much training are we going to need? How much training do you provide? You know, really, do we not need any training? So can you maybe clarify that for the folks in our audience here?
Yeah, obviously it depends on what your background is, what you already know. That's always the case. Python as a programming language is reckoned to be very easy to pick up and start with. And the reason I said no training is because there are so many people entering the workforce, data scientists, or they're doing some kind of other numerate study, which includes some data management. They already know Python. They already use these tools. So they don't need training. If you've had a lifetime as an IT professional and you're used to SQL, then you can execute SQL from Python, but you won't be getting the full flexibility that Python gives you.
Okay, so Rajesh actually did have that exact question, so you've pre-answered that for him. So I want to ask you this question here from Angie. And what she's wondering is that you say it has higher throughput. Can you give an example of the data load that it can handle?
The throughput I mentioned first specifically for the cloud database systems like Snowflake, and you would have to go to, like, there are big blog posts and webinars specifically about the size of jobs that they can handle in the many terabytes. For the few Python-specific tools I mentioned there, PySpark, Ray, and Dask, it depends on the size of compute resources that you're prepared to give it. Of course, there isn't really a limit. The limit is more on the network bandwidth of you being able to access the data files. So certainly many terabytes. I routinely have data objects that represent multiple terabytes that I work with from my laptop. I don't actually download them. I just get the pieces that I need. But you can certainly investigate that size of data from just your laptop, or if you need it, a full cluster in your company's on-prem solution, whatever that is.
Perfect. Okay. Deepak here is wondering if there's any guidelines that would need to be followed to migrate to Anaconda, and if you are providing any ready-made templates that data engineers could use or might need to use.
Yeah, I mean, to be clear, I'm not really selling a product here. Anaconda does have products that you can find interesting, and I encourage you to look them up. But I'm here on behalf of the open source, which is to say, you can just go and get started. And there are training options for Python or for migrating to some of these tools. Anaconda does provide them to those people that are also interested in our product, which is a slightly different thing. We can talk about those products if we have a few minutes.
We do, yes.
Yeah, okay.
If that's what you want to get into, yeah. We've got about 4 minutes, Martin.
All right, so I'll do the sort of 30-second version. So we have a full platform framework in which you have all of your coding, your data analysis, your dashboards, everything is contained within an online system that's called Anaconda Enterprise, and you all each log in. You have a part of this to yourself where you can do your work. That's the full enterprise, the most expensive product. And we also have a server, which is basically gives you access to all of these tools as libraries. You use the Conda tool to build an environment so that there was a question on here about making sure, how can you make sure that things don't break? And the way that you make sure that things don't break is by knowing the versions that work. And once you know the versions that work, you can always recreate that environment to be specific to those versions and make sure that everything is nicely tied together and compatible. Anaconda Server is a repository for all of those software pieces, all of those libraries, with additional guarantees around security. So we track CVEs. You can monitor what vulnerabilities exist in what packages and exclude them if they meet some threshold. You control when these are mirrored to your system so that you know exactly when things are going to migrate. If you leave things open, they enable all those kinds of IT-friendly workflows for your data scientists. And then there's the general, if you're going to use Conda and our package management system, then there is a license associated with that. You don't have to. It's not the only way of getting these Python packages onto your system. You can go completely alone. You don't have to touch Anaconda at all if you don't want to. But we're happy if more people are just using Python because we see it as a way of moving people to the future and really understanding what their data is.
Okay. I want to ask you a few open source questions because we did get some of these, and I think this next one is incredibly important because it comes up every time we talk open source. Martin, can people trust open source software?
No, but you also can't trust any other. You also can't trust any other software. Not completely, right? There's always some problems that require workarounds. But open source software actually gets things fixed much faster than any other software because if there's a problem, you don't have to go through some customer relations process to get that into the system and get somebody to approve it and put it onto a time plan and then wait for the next release in 6 months' time or something like that. You can just report it and it can be fixed within days, and a new release of that software is out and ready for you immediately. Or somebody just engages with you and tells you, maybe you're doing something wrong. Obviously, that happens. What the workaround is, what's the correct way to do things. It's very, very fast. It's open, so the code itself can be seen by anybody who cares to look at it. And that means actually most problems are spotted before they're released. Also, there's very extensive testing on all these different pieces, how well they work together. So if I change something in FS Spec, which is my example, it shows up in other libraries very quickly, well before any commercial client is going to be affected by it. And then finally, for vulnerabilities, so actual malicious actions, Anaconda that is one of our business propositions, is to track those and to inform clients of potential things that they need to watch out for so that you can, again, set thresholds on your Anaconda server installation to make sure that those things that have known vulnerabilities never get installed, and you get alerts so that you can update them as soon as a fix is released. So it's a pretty complete story. And for being open source, I don't think you lose any stability or any security guarantees compared to any commercial software.
I think that's one of the best answers I've heard for can you trust open source, and I think that's extremely accurate and hopefully spoke to a lot of folks in the audience. I do want to let you know, Martin, that we got a lot of high fives from the folks out there. People are really appreciating the information, walking through the insights and history and development. So you've got some fans out there in the audience today, Martin. And before we wrap up, can you let anyone out there that is ready to jump in with Anaconda and ready somebody to get started, what is their first step?
Again, it depends on where you're coming from. So the Anaconda.com has links to tons of documentation about our products, about all of the open source packages that are out there, how to use them, loads of tutorials. You can come to Anaconda.cloud, which is our new online sort of social platform where you can have a profile and be prompted for things that might be interesting to you. That's a developing platform that will have a lot more content in the future, so that you can follow things that your colleagues are doing, and you can follow packages as they're being updated, and a whole load of other things, share data. Those are in the pipeline, so I encourage you to have a look. There's also a community section there. That's like a chat space. You can ask questions and people will respond to you. And again, that's mostly community members, so it's people just talking to each other about common experiences. But also you can get in touch with, for specific Anaconda questions, you can ask there, or you can, of course, email our support people or salespeople if you interested in those products, if you want to maybe establish a specific services agreement, if you need something that does not yet exist, and Anaconda might be the third person to develop that specific tool for you. That's also a possibility.
I love that. Lots of ways to jump in. That community element is pretty exciting as well.
So I'm very lucky to have a job in which I just make open source. I don't sell anything. I put code out into the world, and people download it and use it. And on the whole, they tend to be happy with it, I hope.
That is a really exciting job. You just get to, I love the element of just getting to sort of create and send into the world, and then everyone sort of adds to the ship as it's sailing, which is a really neat idea. All right. Well, I think we're going to have to leave it there. I wish we could keep going, Martin. It's always fascinating to chat with you. And we still have some questions coming in. So I do want to remind everyone that we will get these questions to Martin and the Anaconda team. So you will get some follow-ups. Martin, thank you again so much for joining us and for sticking around to answer some questions.
Thank you.
All right, and I'm going to go ahead and put this poll question up for you here. And what we really want to know from you is what further information you would like about the Anaconda solution. So again, saw some great questions coming in there. I think there's a lot of you who have questions and follow-ups that you'd like to dig into, ways you'd like to maybe get involved. Maybe you want to start with that community section. But again, this is just a fantastic way to reach out directly to the Anaconda team and let them know how they can support you. So please do take a moment and answer that poll. While you're doing that, I also want to remind you about the handout section. So if you head on over to the handouts tab, you can find, click on that Anaconda link. There is a great, it's kind of an ebook style or presentation style walkthrough. It's called Anaconda, the world's most popular data science platform. You got to love that. And it's going to walk you through the solution, the benefits, who should be using it. You actually get some use cases. So I know some of you were wondering about those use cases, so you can head there, and just some industry stats, tons of interesting information there. So please do go click on that handouts tab right there. Okay, well, make sure to get that poll question answered, and I do want to thank everyone who submitted a question. Don't forget that there's still a chance to win that best question. We're going to be following up with all the questions asked, and we'll pick out that best question from each session, even if it wasn't asked live. So get those questions in each session, and we will have one more gift card giveaway after our next presentation. But we have already come to our very last presentation of the day. So we're going to move forward with that, bringing it home in style. I am so excited to introduce you all to our next presenter in today's EcoCast, Rocco Pecora, Technical Product Marketing Manager at Qlik. Rocco, we are so excited to have you here with us as our grand finale today. So the platform is all yours.
Hi, and welcome to today's presentation, where we're going to show Qlik Cloud, our active intelligence platform that together takes data integration, analytics, AI, and machine learning to the next level. In this presentation, we're going to show how Qlik is helping our customers respond to the uncertain world we live in, and how our vision of active intelligence is closing the gaps between data and action. And just for a quick introduction, I'm Rocco Pecora, manager here at Click in technical product marketing for analytics. Prior to joining Click, I spent 8 years on the consulting side around the various industries such as life sciences and pharmaceuticals, smart meter networks and energy, financial services, e-commerce. And, after seeing dozens and dozens of different use cases, I've really become passionate around seeing the before and after effect of analytics at organizations, and really excited to kind of share with you guys today Click Cloud. We live in an uncertain world. Change is all around us. Competition is fierce, and global events continue to disrupt business operations as well as our lives. So responding to these challenges, reacting early, and ensuring we take action quickly is no longer a nice to have, it's a must have. However, the way in which we typically respond is simply not working. And it boils down to the fact that the tools that we have at our disposal at a societal level and even corporate level are insufficient to solve these big challenges that we're facing. The pandemic, climate change, economic inequity, disruptions in supply chains, and even more recently, the tragic geopolitical conflict have combined to create this uncertainty, but in all cases, really forcing us to look at things differently and solve problems in ways we never have before. Data, technology, and analytics being a big part of leading that forward. So taking that as context, right? How are organizations making use of data to help them navigate an uncertain world? Even after billions of dollars of market investment, it's truly mixed results. Some firms finding success and others only achieving limited results. Within this group, less than half believe they actually have access to enough data for making decisions. Only 29% of these executives feel that they've actually achieved transformational business outcome, which is the whole ROI feeling. And less than a third of executives see poor data literacy as a critical roadblock to change and success. But it's not the entire story. Research also shows that organizations with high analytics maturity can yield significant returns. 76% of these executives have noted operational efficiency has improved. 75% revenue has increased, and 74% of these executives have reported profitability increased. So why is the gap so big between these two groups? One of the biggest obstacles is that as an industry, we have compartmentalized two separate domains around data integration and data analytics. Historically, building solutions for each area typically owned distinctly by either IT and the business. This compartmentalized approach creates a lack of alignment between teams and has often been a major driver behind shadow IT investments, which can lead to big-time data governance challenges. CIOs in the IT org do their best to make the data available, yet lines of business champions and those key leaders still don't believe that they have the right access to data that they need to do their job and improve their decision making. This whole model leads naturally to a passive approach to data and analytics, what is often referred to as passive BI, which is treating data as historical and static versus dynamic and action-based. The most common result of isolating data integration and analytics is the misalignment that fruitions between IT and the business. IT typically will say that they have more data than the business really feels is accessible, but then the business is probably also having trouble either accessing the right or all of the data they need for analysis, quote unquote. The entire circle of confusion makes it harder for IT to demonstrate their value in providing to the wider organization, as well as not offering the business what they need to drive the business forward. So this is really because too often data strategies are geared towards integrating source data into a target from A to B, rather than driving business value from that data, which I don't know. They often hope that this value will somehow just be discovered later on in the process, is auto magic, right? But at Click, our approach is a little bit different. We want to combine these two areas into one unique end-to-end analytics data pipeline that streamlines the delivery of data directly such that we can maximize the business value as we move from BI to active intelligence. In short, this is the path to the ROI that executives expect. By unifying these worlds, the aim of the pipeline is pretty simple. It's to free data from the silos in real time, to allow users to easily find data, to be able to enrich it, to help as many people as possible understand and discover insights from no matter where they are, and then wiring that to automate downstream actions, which establishes a trusted end-to-end data analytics pipeline. This is the foundation for our vision to enable active intelligence, a fresh new perspective that reflects today's realities where data needs to be owned by both IT and business. Where analytics in the environment is alive, it's constantly changing and needs to be able to be dynamic to address the needs in real time. And we're unique here at Qlik, where we have a platform that's robust enough to span end-to-end across cloud data integration, as well as our world-class analytics services. Together, these services are the basis for Qlik Cloud, Qlik's active intelligence platform. Powered by a rich set of foundational services, it provides what you need to transform raw data into informed action. And it's the only cloud platform built for exactly this state of active intelligence and designed to help organizations shift from a passive set of tools to an active system, an environment that delivers information in real time that compels action. The first step in the analytics data pipeline is all about freeing the data from its silos. We take the raw data, no matter if it's internal, external, derivative data, from wherever it is, in the cloud, multi-cloud, on-premise, and we continuously deliver it where it needs to be, reflecting changes in real time. Once we've freed the data, we want to make sure that users can easily find it. So at this stage, we capture the data, increasing trust by preserving its lineage, and we perform smart identification in a governed catalog, where users can then shop for data like an e-commerce experience and publish it to their own analytics. This data at this stage is now become analytics ready. As we move from the traditional world of data integration and data services, which again can operate independently of the analytics platform, we continue to also optimize the data through the pipeline for analytics. We pick up the data at this stage and users can begin to understand the data. So with Qlik, users can take advantage of the power of descriptive, predictive, and even prescriptive analytics to uncover richer insights and outputs. So at that point, this data is business ready, meaning there is business logic applied to the data. Next, once you understand the data, you need to be able to take action. And that is a key element in active intelligence. Users can collaborate with users and they can do that on the go. The system embeds analytics into automated workflows and delivers sophisticated context-aware alerts in real time as changes happen. So the data becomes alive, dynamic, and actionable. And of course, an analytics data pipeline would not be complete or functional without automation and orchestration to close all those gaps between data, insights, and action. Automation in Qlik Cloud can support integration needs like continuously moving data, change data capture, creating analytic-ready structures into cloud warehouses or lakes. But automation can also elevate analytics and turn data into the fuel the business is craving by making data actionable. Automation drives proactive insights to compel action in the moment by directly triggering other processes and downstream activities through the relevant systems like CRMs, ERPs, and Marketo, and all of these other systems that can then be initiated or triggered through data within Qlik Cloud. So now that we've previewed Qlik Cloud and our active intelligence platform, let's jump right into a demonstration. So in the first part of our demo, we're going to start in the beginning of the analytics data pipeline, which is all about freeing data, right? Moving data from its raw sources to centralized repositories, catalogs, etc. So here you can see I'm actually in Qlik Cloud. I'm in the home part of data services or data integration. Here I can leverage Qlik Replicate. I can use change data capture, the Qlik Enterprise Manager. Really, I can facilitate any part of data integration, data movement right here from Qlik Cloud Home Data Services. And just scrolling below, you can see some different jobs I have. moving financial data into Snowflake, but also moving opportunity data from S3 into ClickCloud. So opening this job just to kind of show you, right? Here you can see all of the different parts of the job that's running, moving my data from S3 into ClickCloud. And just tying that back together, let's go into our analytics and see what it looks like as a catalog. So quick side note about the home. This is the home part of ClickCloud. It's highly customizable, which is pretty powerful when you think about deploying analytics across a variety of different roles and business champions, right? Because what it does is it's very highly customizable, which allows users to personalize their analytics experience, which can run parallel to their individual goals, right, or responsibilities. So whether they're a data engineer, business intelligence developer, or just an end user, they all can kind of enrich themselves by customizing their homepage to be highly attentive to their own needs. I really love that part. Going into the QVDs, here you can see the data sets that I have. I'm going to open that closed opportunity set that we just moved. Here you can see some metadata behind this data. But what I want to feature is lineage and impact analysis, which I think is just kind of like a beautiful bridge between integration and analytics, because here you can see I have my closed opportunities, right? Data going into an application that's all around opportunity analysis. So I'm curious, because this can't be the only data going into that app. I want to select the application and I'm going to select impact analysis. Very quickly, here I can see the big picture, right? The lineage from every data set that's actually going into this application. So this is pretty impactful when you consider it from both vantage points, whether you're an engineer or a data architect, right? Or even a data steward. You have the ability to have transparency in your governance through lineage, upstream, knowing what data is being pushed where and how it's being used. From the other vantage point, right, which is upstream looking down, as a business user, you can make sure that you're making decisions on the right data, that your application, your data schema, whatever it is having the right data sources streamed into it. So it's pretty powerful to have this zoomed out, bigger picture of your data and where it's actually being leveraged. So now I'm back in my ClickCloud Hub. I'm actually in my catalog and I have all types selected. And here you can see the different types of assets you can own. Charts, I'm monitoring different charts here so I can observe how data is being changed and actually see without even going into the application. Apps, data, notes where I'm collaborating with different users. What I want to show and highlight are these 4 applications, which all have this green symbol. When I open this application, it looks just like ClickCloud, same ClickSense experience, but the only difference is that now I've changed my location of where I'm connected to. Before I was connected to ClickCloud, now I'm inside of Fort and connected to data inside of my VPC, my virtual private cloud. All that's really required for me is to have the right correct network connectivity. What this means is that I'm able to keep data where I want it to reside, and I can extend the analytics SaaS consumption into that data, into my VPC. So this is pretty powerful as we look at the flexibility and robustness of ClickCloud as a platform, being able to extend into your virtual private clouds and analyze data where it needs to reside. This data is actually the close and open opportunity data we were moving from S3. And what I want to do now is move away from the analytics side, and I want to kind of show AutoML, our machine learning capability. I want to enrich some of this data and get a better understanding of my opportunities. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to AutoML. I'm going to press New Project, and we're going to create analysis, focusing on the opportunity analysis. So I'll just title this real quickly and press Next, and we're going to select our data set, which is going to be the closed op data from S3. Here we can see, right, all the different fields coming from this data set. And what I want to do is focus on opportunity 1 loss. The idea is that I've set a target and I want to understand really how the opportunities have gone, why we've won and why we've lost some. So we can see really what the reason is for winning and losing some of these closed opportunities. So when I run this analysis, I'm going to get some statistics like my F-score on some of the algorithms that have been ran. I'm going to close this. And here you can see an analysis on those closed opportunities. We can see feature importance, we can see correlations, and it's pretty cool that we're able to actually have this analysis pretty quickly without writing a single line of code, right? And it's actually pretty cool because what we're going to do now is create a prediction. So what I want to do is I want to go to Add New, Create Prediction. We're going to pick the open op data and press Predict. So scrolling down, did it pretty fast. Here you can see that it went through those open opportunities and it showed me that I have a 60 to 40% success rate. It's also showing me my SHAP importance, which is SHAP is pretty much like a mathematical method to explain influencers in a prediction. So in this aspect, these are all variables into why we're winning or losing opportunities. And we'll dig into that a little bit more in the analytics. And you'll see when I add this data into my ClickSense model, how it kind of all ties together. So for the sake of time and your attention, I've added that prediction data into my data model within ClickSense, our analytics hub. So here you can see I have a dashboard. And what I want to do is just start off by asking questions to the Insight Advisor. So what I want to ask is open amount by close month year will win. I'm not really giving it an easy question. So very quickly, the Insight Advisor was able to generate not only visualizations, but also text blurbs right here to the right. So pretty quickly, this gives me the ability to ask questions. Natural language has always kind of been this dream for analytics deployments, and it really comes down to controls of natural language. Within the development layer, developers can actually build almost like a vocabulary index and attach those words to the correct fields. And this gives a very nice level of governance to natural language. An easy example is when I type who, right? For this particular data set, there's sales reps, sales managers, merchants. So there's 3 different sets of users who could all be who. And I can set those paradigms, those controls within each application. So it's pretty cool, but really quickly, what I want to do is I can add this to any sheet that I want. I want to actually add this to my enhanced dashboard. So very quickly, I leveraged the Insight Advisor to ask this question, and I built out this nice kind of trending chart, and I want to go into my dashboard and take a look at it. Very quickly, you can see exactly where that chart got pushed to the top right. And actually, I want to focus on that prediction data that I moved from the open opportunities. So looking at the table down here, we added that prediction field. So I can actually look at all of the opportunity forecasts for my open opportunities. There are actually opportunities where I'm predicted to lose them and forecasted to win. So what I want to do is select lost, and go to the forecast. So now that I've kind of drilled down into these where I'm forecasted to lose, I need to build action off these. So what I'm going to do is actually go and create a quick alert. And here you can see I already have one built out. These are all opportunities you're going to lose. What I want to do is create a new alert and show you the one that I've already got. So here you can see I have open amount, I have win probability. These are all metrics I've added into this alert just to kind of go to next. And here you can see where I've set up these conditions. The conditions have been built for opportunities that are greater than 250,000, but also have a lower than win probability of 50%. And very quickly, you can see on the bottom preview exactly what would trigger this alert. Going into the distribution aspect, I can kind of set up whatever cadence I want when this alert's executed, whether it's every time the data is refreshed, daily, weekly, and I can also set up a list of different audience members so I can share this with others. But it's pretty easy to kind of get set up. Let me save that. So scrolling down, right here you can see we have a scatter plot of open amount and win probability. What's really interesting is if you look at our SHAP chart on the right, you can see that deal type is actually a very negative variable in our sales cycle. So what I want to do is Click does great at the aggregate level, but it does even better when we drill down. So what I want to do is drill down into this opportunity. And here what's interesting is what we've learned is that amount actually has a negative influence in our sales cycle for this opportunity. So maybe there's something we can do there around pricing, basket handling, something to make the customer stay with us. Pretty interesting that we came across that. So what I want to do now is move over into application automation, where I'm kind of going to show you how to build out this automated workflow that takes into consideration all of the next steps and actions we need to take. So going into our application automation hub, here I've already built out this automation for this particular need. And what this automation is going to do, it's going to go out and find those opportunities, right? And then what it's going to do is it's going to find those opportunities that I'm likely to lose in the forecast, but I'm also expecting to win, and it's going to update the Salesforce record for all of these opportunities so that all of the sales reps see that the opportunity's been updated, that it's here at risk, and here are the next steps to take. And I'm also going to update Microsoft Teams for all of their managers. Say I'm coming from corporate, so that they're all aware of these opportunities being at risk, and that the forecast can actually be managed so they can follow up with their team members and make sure that something is taking place. So here you can see I've already kind of built this out and I want to run it. So I'm going to run this pretty quickly. And here you can see, I'll just scroll in, all of the Salesforce records for these opportunities have been updated. And it's pretty powerful in the fact that all within a single platform, I've been able to integrate data, create machine learning models, create predictions, integrate them into my decision-making applications that then also have the ability to go out and update other systems. It's pretty amazing when we think about the state of active intelligence and getting there all through a single platform. It's a lot to take in, but this is how we envision the modern analytics data pipeline to work and seamlessly offer the end-to-end experience, from freeing data in real time to providing it into an analytics-ready environment, all the way into enriching the data so it's business ready so users can understand and build action on it. That's the final step. The last mile of active intelligence is all about putting that in the business moment. The result is that real-time, up-to-date data that's trusted so it can be transformed into informed action. That is active intelligence. Thank you all for joining us today to learn more about Click Cloud. I'm Rocco Pecora. Please find me on LinkedIn or send me a note and email if you have any questions. And let's go and drive certainty into this world. Thank you.
Oh, Rocco, I absolutely love that final thought. What a great way to wrap up an awesome presentation. Thank you so much for some really fascinating information. We had chatted earlier and it sounded like you wanted to take some Q&A from the audience directly. So Rocco, I'm going to hand the mic back on over to you. Take it away.
Going into Q&A, the first question is, who is Click's main persona or role? Well, I would say mainly BI and analytics, but with our integration services now, it could be data engineer, data architect, and again, all the way into end users. They all benefit from our platform. The next question is, what is your favorite part of Click Cloud? My favorite part is application automation, the one where you saw where you could build the autonomous workflow. That's my favorite part of Click Cloud. I think it's just so powerful for what it can do end to end. And the third question is, you mentioned analytics maturity. What does that mean? From my consulting side, you can go into different organizations and just see how good they are at extracting value from data. That's really what I mean around maturity. If they're high maturity, they can extract a lot of value out of data very quickly with the resources they have, versus if they don't, then they would be low maturity.
I love that, Rocco. You're so efficient. I said we'd have time for about 3 questions, and he's taken 3 questions. Nice, nice work, my friend. That was just an awesome presentation, as I said, and thank you for sticking around to answer a few questions. I know there was a lot more than 3 that we were asked, and I'm sorry that we're not going to get to them all, but we will make sure that Rocco and the Click team are getting all of the questions that I still see coming in, so you will get follow-ups from the team. And thanks, Peter, for the high five emojis. I love that, the clapping emojis. We'll make sure he sees those as well. So I do have a poll up for you all. Again, we want to know what additional information you would like to get from Click. So this is, I'm just going to mention this again, the best way to reach out directly to a team. You know, it's such a great opportunity to really connect in and get the information that is pertinent to where you are right now. What are you needing? What information are you needing? What research are you doing? What phase is your organization at in this process? So make sure that you do take the time to click, no pun intended, to click on the poll and let us know what information you would like to get. Chris, I'm seeing your message. Maybe just try giving your browser a quick refresh and then see if you will get that poll question up for you. Okay, so click on the Click poll and let them know what information you would like to get following this webinar here. And while you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to leave that poll up, and I'm going to give away our last of the $500 Amazon gift cards that we have. So a $500 gift card is going to Philip Chan of Texas. Philip Chan of Texas, you have won a $500 Amazon gift card. Congratulations to Philip, and I'm going to read out our winner list again. We always get asked for that. So if you missed it earlier, and again, a reminder that all of these winners must be present at the webinar at the EcoCast today in order to win. So number 1 went to Josh Wenke of Michigan. Number 2 went to Dave Bursky of California. Number 3 went to Philip Chan of Texas. And we do still have those best questions asked prizes. That's the $50 gift card that will be going out after we wrap today. So even if we didn't get to one of your questions during the live session, we will get back to you. We will review all of those and make sure you do get those answers and that you do get a chance to win that prize. All right, well, thank you again to Rocco and to the Click team. Thank you to everyone who clicked on the Click poll. Now I can't stop doing it. And we're going to go ahead and move on in our wrap here. So if you are on the webinar today and you would like to chat with us about presenting at a future Summit, Megacast, EcoCast, webinar, whatever you're interested in, we would definitely love to hear from you. Come on, have a conversation. You know, you can nerd out with David and Scott and I about pop culture, technology, or whatever you're excited about. So if you would like to present on one of our events, please do reach out to us via email at connect@actualtechmedia.com. Okay, well, with that, on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I want to thank all of our speakers from DataStax, from Informatica, Anaconda, and Click for making this EcoCast possible. A very special thank you to all of you out there for attending, for asking some great questions. You know, I really noticed the difference when we have an engaged crowd, which we certainly did today. So thank you all for letting us know what Data's cat was named. Thank you all for asking some great questions. I really had a lot of fun getting to chat with you all today about powering up databases with AI and ML. And I hope that you have all learned some interesting and helpful tips and maybe learned about some cool cinematic technologies, maybe the ones we already have and the ones that we're still imagining, maybe coming soon. Before you take off today, I do want to make sure that you all mark your calendars and come back to join us for an expert series event this Friday, the 9th at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. We're going to be chatting about DevSecOps 101. What is it and why is it important? So if you're sitting out there wondering every time somebody talks about DevSecOps and you kind of go, yeah, okay, but what is it really? Now's the chance to learn. Come for a really cool level set and exploration about why, what and why DevSecOps is so important. Well, I hope that we will see you all again at an event soon. I've had an absolute blast with you all today. And until the next time, have an absolutely beautiful rest of your day.